There's something profoundly beautiful about the way ancient wisdom finds us exactly when we need it most. 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor sat by candlelight, writing notes to himself about the nature of peace and turmoil. Marcus Aurelius never intended for anyone else to read his meditations, yet his private reflections on finding calm amid chaos speak directly to our modern restlessness. Today, we carry the weight of endless notifications, the pressure of constant productivity, and the peculiar anxiety that comes from living in a world that never truly sleeps. But perhaps the Stoics, who faced their own storms, political upheaval, exile, slavery, and the fundamental uncertainties of human existence, understood something about inner peace that we've forgotten. Inner peace isn't the absence of difficulty. It's the presence of a mind that knows how to remain steady when everything else is shifting. The Stoics called this ataraxia, a profound tranquility that comes not from controlling our circumstances, but from understanding what lies within our power and what doesn't. What follows are 7 micro-habits, small practices rooted in Stoic wisdom that can quietly rebuild the foundation of your inner peace. These aren't grand gestures or dramatic life changes. They're gentle shifts in perspective, tiny recalibrations of attention that, over time, create something remarkable. A mind that remains calm in the center of any storm. The first habit, the morning pause. Before the day claims you, there exists a sacred moment, the space between sleep and the world's demands. Marcus Aurelius understood this threshold. Each morning, he would remind himself of what the day might bring. Difficult people, unexpected challenges, his own potential frustrations. But rather than dreading these possibilities, he used this awareness as preparation, like a gardener checking the weather before tending to delicate plants. The morning pause isn't about meditation in the formal sense, though it shares meditation's gentle quality of attention. It's simply the practice of beginning each day with a moment of conscious awareness, acknowledging that you're about to step into a world you cannot control, but carrying with you the one thing you can, your response to whatever unfolds. This might look like standing at your window for 30 seconds, feeling the weight of your feet on the floor, noticing the quality of light. Or perhaps it's the simple act of drinking your first sip of coffee with complete presence, tasting it fully rather than rushing toward the day's first task. The Stoics believed that how we begin shapes everything that follows. When we start from a place of awareness rather than reactivity, we set a different tone entirely. In our hyper-connected age, this pause becomes even more precious. It's the difference between being pulled into the day's current and choosing to wade in consciously, aware of the water's temperature and depth. The second habit, the practice of preferred indifference. Epictetus, who knew suffering intimately, he spent years as a slave before becoming one of history's most influential philosophers, taught something that sounds almost radical to modern ears. Most of what we worry about simply doesn't matter as much as we think it does. He called these things indifferent, neither inherently good nor bad, but neutral until we assign them meaning. The practice of preferred indifference is the gentle art of loosening our grip on outcomes we cannot control. It's not about becoming passive or uncaring, but about distinguishing between what deserves our emotional investment and what doesn't. When you're stuck in traffic, the delay itself is indifferent. It's neither good nor bad. Your peace of mind depends not on the traffic clearing, but on how you hold this moment. This practice might emerge when you're waiting for an important email response, watching the weather threaten your outdoor plans, or dealing with technology that refuses to cooperate. Instead of fighting these moments, there's a quiet power in recognizing them as opportunities to practice non-attachment. The Stoics weren't suggesting we become emotionless, but rather that we save our emotional energy for what truly matters: our character, our responses, our choices in each moment. Modern life offers countless opportunities to practice this: the delayed flight, the cancelled meeting, the unexpected change in plans. Each becomes a small teacher, showing us where we're holding too tightly to things beyond our control. The third habit, evening reflection. As the day draws to a close, Seneca had a beautiful practice. He would review the day not as a judge pronouncing verdicts, but as a gentle observer, curious about his own responses and reactions. He wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine the whole day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." This isn't the harsh self-criticism that so many of us practice, but something far more compassionate, the simple act of witnessing our own experience with kindness and curiosity. What moments brought peace? Where did anxiety arise? How did we respond to unexpected challenges? The evening reflection is like tending a garden. We notice what's growing, what needs attention, what's flourishing. This practice might unfold during the quiet moments before sleep, perhaps while washing dishes or taking a shower. It's not about perfection or judgment, but about awareness. Did we rush through conversations today, or did we listen fully? Did we react from fear or respond from wisdom? Were there moments when we forgot to breathe deeply, to notice beauty, to extend kindness to ourselves and others? The Stoics understood that wisdom grows through this kind of gentle attention to our own patterns and responses. Each evening becomes an opportunity to learn something about ourselves, to celebrate small victories, and to approach tomorrow with slightly more awareness than we had today. The fourth habit, the art of negative visualization. There's a Stoic practice that might seem counterintuitive at first, occasionally imagining the loss of things we cherish. But this isn't about cultivating pessimism or anxiety. It's about awakening gratitude and reducing our attachment to things that are, by their very nature, temporary. Seneca would sometimes live as if he had lost his wealth, eating simple foods and wearing plain clothes, not out of self-punishment, but to remind himself that happiness didn't depend on external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius would contemplate the temporary nature of all things, not to become morbid, but to appreciate more fully what exists in this moment. The art of negative visualization in daily life might be as simple as pausing to truly see a loved one's face, remembering that this moment, this conversation, this ordinary Tuesday evening together is not guaranteed. It might be feeling genuine appreciation for your morning coffee, your comfortable bed, your ability to read these words, small gifts that we often take for granted until they're gone. This practice doesn't invite worry about the future, but rather a deeper appreciation of the present. When we occasionally acknowledge the temporary nature of our blessings, we hold them more lightly and love them more fully. The Stoics discovered that by occasionally imagining loss, we actually experience less suffering when change inevitably comes, and more joy in what we have right now. The fifth habit, choosing your thoughts. Perhaps no Stoic insight is more practical than this. We cannot control what thoughts arise in our minds, but we can choose which ones we engage with and which ones we let pass by like clouds across the sky. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't about positive thinking or forcing optimism, but about recognizing that we have a choice in how long we dwell on certain thoughts and how much energy we give them. When anxiety arises, we can notice it without becoming it. When anger appears, we can acknowledge it without being consumed by it. The practice might look like this: noticing when your mind begins to spiral into worry about tomorrow's presentation and gently redirecting attention to what you can do right now to prepare. or recognizing when you're replaying an uncomfortable conversation from yesterday and choosing instead to focus on what you learned from the experience. The Stoics understood that our thoughts are like visitors. We can acknowledge them without inviting them to stay for dinner. This doesn't mean suppressing difficult emotions, but rather developing the skill of conscious attention. Where we place our mental energy matters enormously, and we have more choice in this than we often realize. In a world designed to capture and scatter our attention, this ancient practice becomes a form of quiet rebellion, choosing depth over distraction, presence over preoccupation. The sixth habit, memento mori, remembering mortality. The Stoics had a phrase, memento mori, remember death. This wasn't meant to be morbid, but profoundly liberating. When we truly remember that our time here is limited, many of our daily anxieties reveal themselves as less significant than they seemed. This practice isn't about dwelling on death, but about letting the awareness of life's preciousness inform how we spend our days. It's the difference between rushing through a conversation with a friend because you're thinking about your next task and being fully present because you remember that moments like these are finite and irreplaceable. Memento mori might emerge when you're stuck in a minor frustration. Perhaps someone cut you off in traffic, or a colleague was dismissive in a meeting. The gentle reminder of mortality doesn't minimize these experiences, but it puts them in perspective. In the grand arc of a human life, how much energy do these moments deserve? This awareness can also bring tremendous tenderness to ordinary moments. The way sunlight falls across your kitchen table, the sound of rain against the window, the feeling of your pet's warm weight against your leg. When we remember that nothing lasts forever, everything becomes more precious. The Stoics found that remembering mortality didn't make them sad. It made them more alive, more present, more grateful for the extraordinary gift of being conscious in this moment. The seventh habit, the view from above. Marcus Aurelius had a practice he called taking the view from above, imagining himself from a cosmic perspective, seeing his troubles and triumphs as part of a much larger tapestry. From this vantage point, many of our daily concerns reveal their true proportions. This isn't about minimizing our experiences, but about finding the right scale for them. When we're caught in the intensity of a difficult day, it can feel as though this moment defines everything. But from the view from above, we see that this day is one of thousands. This challenge is one of many we've already survived. This emotion is one wave in an ocean of experiences. The practice might unfold when you're feeling overwhelmed by a work deadline, and you pause to remember that in a year, you likely won't remember the specific stress of this Tuesday afternoon. But you might remember how you chose to respond to it. Or when you're caught in a disagreement with someone you love, and you step back to see the relationship from a broader perspective. All the shared laughter, support, and connection that surrounds this one difficult conversation. The view from above doesn't make our problems disappear, but it helps us respond to them with greater wisdom and less reactivity. It reminds us that we are part of something much larger than our immediate concerns, and that this larger perspective can be a source of both humility and strength. Conclusion: the quiet revolution. These 7 micro habits, the morning pause, preferred indifference, evening reflection, negative visualization, choosing your thoughts, memento mori, and the view from above, are not dramatic interventions. They're quiet practices, small shifts in attention that accumulate over time into something profound, a mind that knows how to find peace regardless of external circumstances. The Stoics understood that inner peace isn't a destination we arrive at, but a way of traveling through life. It's not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of wisdom in how we meet whatever arises. These practices don't promise to eliminate stress or challenge from your life. They offer something better, the tools to remain yourself, calm and clear in the midst of whatever comes. In our age of constant stimulation and endless demands, these ancient practices feel both timeless and urgently relevant. They remind us that the most important work we can do is often the quietest, the patient cultivation of our own inner landscape, the gentle training of attention, the daily choice to respond rather than react. If you find calm in these teachings, consider subscribing for more reflections on the art of living wisely in an uncertain world. The path to inner peace isn't found in changing our circumstances, but in changing our relationship to them. And that change begins not with grand gestures, but with small, consistent practices, micro-habits that, over time, create a quiet revolution in how we experience being alive. The Stoics knew something we're still learning, that peace is not the absence of storms, but the ability to remain steady while they pass. And that ability, like any skill, grows stronger with gentle, consistent practice.